everyone, and welcome to my second channel, AI Gaming. It's your pal Noms here, and I love Halo. I've been balling in Halo since 2002, and it has been glorious all the way up until 2014. But that aside, I've made some Halo videos in the past on my main channel, but since I'm trying to transition everything I make that's gaming related onto this channel, I figured we should start small with one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time. Now, with the release of Halo on PC being less than perfect, but still pretty awesome, a lot of players were able to play Halo Reach in all its glory once more, but this time in 4K 60 frames per second. Thank God for that, because HD at 20 frames per second was almost unplayable when I tried playing OG Reach not so long ago. Not to mention that goddamn motion blur. Anyway, players got to revisit Reach, and there was an unusually long wait for the release of Combat Evolved to come out on PC. And due to fan demand, coupled with a tight schedule and the looming threat of the worldwide pandemic that's going on right now, Microsoft and 343 Industries released Halo Combat Evolved onto PC, and it has had its fair share of issues, however minute or massive. However, due to a lengthy amount of time, players got very accustomed to Reach, and there was a complaint that I wholeheartedly agree with, that precision starts were far too apparent in the matchmaking search results for Slayer, resulting in a heavy amount of DMR duels, which can be very frustrating. Firstly, because of Halo Reach's borderline broken bloom function, but secondly and most importantly because of this, many players felt the gameplay was getting quite stale. Thankfully, they could deselect Slayer thanks to MCC's excellent matchmaking interface, but players that selected the Slayer option were again forced into precision starts 90% of the time. It wasn't until about a month later or so that 343 Industries added two Slayer variants, Precision Slayer and Auto Slayer, and players, myself included, had their grievances met with a greater variety in the multiplayer setup. And after having some time with both Slayer variants, I wanted to make this video as to why Auto Slayer, I believe, is much better than Precision Slayer. So let's start with Reach. Limiting Precision Slayer means DMR duels are far less frequent, and players weren't forced into this by a lack of options and a skewed probability. This means that the rest of Halo Reach's vast sandbox was viable, finally. I don't know about the rest of you, but with the DMR starts, I found myself barely going for or using anything but power weapons. It was either a shotgun DMR, sniper rifle DMR, rocket launcher DMR, and so on. Granted, Reach has a very wide variety of power weapons to go for. The plasma launcher, fuel rod, rocket, sniper, grenade launcher, shotgun, concussion rifle, which I go for depending on which armor ability I've chosen, and it depends on which map I'm on, because again, while there's a wide variety of power weapons, they're not available on every map. This also meant many of the encounters were fought at a distance, and 70% of the time it would simply be a DMR battle, and any player worth their salt can take out another player before having to reload or change weapons with that gun. Not to mention, despite power weapons still being viable, someone with a DMR and an armor ability, namely jetpack or camo, can still easily take out someone at a distance with a sniper rifle or rocket weapon. This is pretty much the same for Halo 2, where if you're using the hit-scan battle rifle, you can beat out dual-wielding combos 90% of the time if you're retreating. And without armor abilities, it's true you are more susceptible to being killed by a power weapon, but this still cuts out a huge portion of the once viable sandbox. And Halo 3 isn't much different. Granted, equipment is always viable, and the BR's projectile function makes it harder to get the headshot, but once again, dual wielding is pretty much outclassed against a battle rifle at anything but close range or a lucky shot from a charged plasma combo. And forget about the shotgun and brute shot in most instances, unless once again it's close quarters. And while yes, rockets are still viable, and snipers too, unless the battle rifle player isn't suppressing you out of the zoom function from across the fucking map, once again, a battle rifle can commonly beat out 80% of the weapon sandbox in most instances. Most encounters are battle rifle duels, and rarely do you want to pick up anything else. And when you do, I'll bet a large chunk of you second guess the choice after it's already been made. Granted, you can change your secondary weapon, but rarely do you want to give up or not use your battle rifle once it's been given to you. Now, with Auto Slayer, this isn't really an issue. Granted, one could make the argument that 90% of the battle encounters become assault rifle or SMG duels, depending on which game you're playing. But let's be frank, just about every weapon is viable against the assault rifle, and there is a far more dynamic battle throughout the multiplayer match. Plasma pistols and rifles, needlers, spikers, brute shots, dual wielding, it's all viable options depending on which game you play. And precision weapons essentially become power weapons, and the player becomes far more distinguished by seeking them out and using them. It's another prize to be fought for, not just snipers and rockets and energy swords. Now you're probably wondering, okay, so what? What's the big deal? They're both fun. Why did you feel the need to make a video about this? And I agree, they are both fun, and they are both great to play. But what sealed the deal as to why I believe one is far more better than the other is the release of Combat Evolved on PC. Or as many of you have come to know by now, Pistol Wars, the video game. Now in Combat Evolved, as far as I know, the MCC Precision Slayer option is just regular Slayer with the assault rifle. But you have a secondary, and it just so happens to be the most overpowered and viable weapon in the entire game. It's one of the reasons I wasn't very excited about Combat Evolved's multiplayer release coming to PC, because 99.99% of encounters is just going to be players using the damn pistol. Which it is. You spawn, swap your primary to your secondary, and start scoping across the map. Not only do you not want to pick up power weapons, or any weapon, nearly as much as you should for a game like Halo, but on a map like Hang 'em High, for example, getting to these power weapons is nigh on impossible because the map is so open, the power weapons are in such a high and vulnerable spot, you have no sprint and move so slow, and everyone can see you with their pocket sniper rifle and kill you in 4 shots. Now, I do enjoy Combat Evolved's multiplayer like this for only 2 or maybe 3 matches. But then I tried it on Auto Slayer and all of these issues were solved because guess what? You spawn with an assault rifle and nothing else, which means I can enjoy it endlessly because everything is viable. This means the players can actually reach the power weapons and want to use them. This also means the plasma pistol, plasma rifle, and even Combat Evolved's extremely shitty needler are weapons players will actively seek out and want to use. Because guess what? No more pistols. The pistol becomes a map weapon, which means it too is a prize to be grabbed. And this way Combat Evolved's multiplayer becomes much more fun to play. And the issue of this limited sandbox, which plagues Combat Evolved far more than the other Halo games, is no longer a problem. You're probably wondering why I didn't bring up Halo 4. Well, truthfully, Halo 4 doesn't really have this problem, because its core multiplayer allows players to choose their arsenal for the map and match type they are playing. Not to mention the variety Halo 4 has. It has 4 precision weapons, 5 if you count the pistol, 3 snipers, not to mention a healthy range of power weapons, automatic weapons, armor abilities to select from, keeping things fresh depending on the scenario and how the player chooses to approach it. It's one of the reasons I love Halo 4, I just wish the multiplayer style was moderated a little better into the game rather than using it as the multiplayer's core base. Legendary Slayer with battle rifles on Halo 4 does have the limited sandbox issues, especially because there is no armor abilities. And again, this can be fun, but for the reasons I listed previously, Auto Slayer is the much better game variant because of the amount of viable choices it opens up for the player. So please, I implore you to try out Auto Slayer for Combat Evolved, and I can assure you you will have a much better time and a much less frustrating time playing it. Well, unless you're on a match of Battle Creek getting spawn killed with a sniper rifle, but hey, nothing's perfect, right? Anyway, thanks for watching folks, hope you enjoyed the video. I look forward to uploading more Halo content and other games as well, and I'm also going to re-upload my older reviews from my main channel as time goes on, so if you're new and you haven't seen those, you'll have that to look forward to. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to all of my patrons. You guys are phenomenal and I appreciate your support, so if you'd like to support my work with a monthly donation, even if it's just $1 per month, the link for Patreon will be in the description below. Lastly, I've opened up a new Discord for this very channel, which is separate from my main Discord. This one will pertain solely to gaming and only gaming, and to this channel. So I hope you check it out, and who knows, maybe you'll make some friends along the way. Anyway, thanks for staying till the end of the video. You are a legend, and here's to another good sesh.